Now, here's your hosts, the League Dad, Kevin, Mitchell, and Alistair.
Welcome to the All In Podcast. We're here with 2024 new LCS rosters, new LCS changes, and a big LCS change to the commissioner, Mark Z, taking it up, moving away from the analyst desk, and some other things moving around. But yeah, how you guys doing? I got Kevin and Alistair with me. What's going on with you guys?
For me, I finally finalized my move in terms of I signed up for a place. I just have to get it approved in Seattle or Bellevue. So I will be moving up there next month sometime. So I got to figure out all the logistics behind that. So that's my big life change.
That's awesome. I spent a lot of time in Seattle, as you know, so that's cool. I like it up there. It's a good place. How you doing, Alistair?
Chilling, pretty uneventful. About it.
For sure. Good to know. Cool. I'm sure you're doing well in the new season, playing some solo queue maybe, complaining about blue side, red side, which we kind of predicted that in our preseason rundown, where the map changes did not favor. But let's not talk about the new map quite yet. Let's talk about LCS. Mark Z is the commissioner, so I'm just gonna say that, and then you can talk about what you feel like your initial reactions.
Yeah. So Mark Z being the commissioner, I mean, we've always joked about the commissioner role. I honestly think that in the past, it's been very hit or miss because they just never tell us what they do, right? And you think that,
Yep.
I feel like in the past, the commissioner just doesn't listen, or at least very rarely acts upon what the committee says they want, right? Mark Z going in, holding my breath on how many things will be executed, but I think the video was very transparent. I think the key points going back to weekends, admitting that they kind of made a mistake there, cutting down game time in between, and all the other communications things, like we're playing on live patch, which is a big risk, right? But I like it. I
Yeah.
like that we're taking risks and we're doing something different because we're just honestly, this league is in a rut and we need that kind of energy. Mark Z, him personally, we've always talked about him, from the infamous B2B song thing he did at Detroit to all the Hotline leagues he's done throughout the years in analyst desk. I think he's gotten better since he joined the LCS. I thought he was a little bit weak when he joined, but as far as people they could have picked, he is a very outspoken person. I think he's more outspoken than Travis in terms of giving opinions as well about Riot, even though he's the employee for Riot, or freelancer, whatever he is. So all's to say, he's someone we know and someone we can put some weight on and like hold accountable to some extent. My worry is that as the weight of the role and maybe, commands from upper people come in, he just will stop giving us answers and will go silent.
That could happen. I mean, hopefully not. Hopefully he doesn't get jaded by the role and disappear or something like that. But
whisked away by Riot Ninjas.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to be honest, I actually don't think a lot will change. I think it's going to be. I think this is kind of one of those moves where you pretend like you're doing something, you put something up there that people know, and then not a lot actually changes. At least maybe there'll be a lot more changes coming, or there'll be more changes soon, but they're definitely going to slow down. I don't expect too many changes personally. I could be wrong though.
Yeah, probably. I mean, after these initial changes, I don't think they're probably going to change the league at all, at least for a while. Definitely not this year again, unless something terrible happens, like the viewership is god awful or something. Then they'll have to do drastic changes. But yeah, I mean, he makes big changes when he comes in. Hopefully they stay, right? So the one that I'm most excited about is no analyst test in between. Totally kills the momentum. They're talking about how like they're gonna film the champ select before and then play it live while the teams are setting up. So that's kind of innovative. I like that idea. Just like get us to the next game faster. And then the other change that's happening on live patch, I mean, I think it's cool. It is risky and it's weird, and we'll learn the game differently than the other regions do. But that's probably a plus side because the way we learn the game right now, it doesn't get us wins internationally. So if we change that, we don't know what's going to happen, right? So maybe it doesn't change anything at all playing on live patch versus playing on a patch before. But I'm hoping it helps. Any thoughts just like on those two ideas, like specifically, like a little technical difficulties? Not me this time. Woo.
I'll just go ahead in the meantime.
Yeah,
I
no
suppose.
worries.
I like the idea of live patch just because NA's always been behind because we're always looking to other regions. We're very rarely looking forward to our and making our own ideas. We don't really have a lot of innovators. Like because we used to like Bjergsen did a bit of innovating, Double Lift, all that. Like some of the greats that they innovated,
That's true.
but I feel like we really lack that now, and we have for a while. So having the opportunity to be the first to something and maybe form a meta like we saw with, for example, Shen Jungle with Pika
Oh
at
yeah.
Worlds, for example, right? We might see more of that. I mean, to be fair, it didn't go the best, but it still is something, right? And I think it is worth giving a shot. Worst case, they just repeal it for summer.
It's hard to think there's gonna be a real downside to playing on the live patch, right? Like, what can we really What can NA players come up with to complain about this time, right? Oh, you're back. We heard you. Oh, okay. Yeah. Perfect. So I say we do it, and I hope it gives us an advantage. Um, I think that just playing on solo queue on the same patch, it'll help with just like champion mastery usually, right? Getting a feel of what the champion is. Instead of like playing it like on a patch and then you go into solo queue and it's like a way different champion like Cassante last year or something. So it'll help with that stuff, but otherwise it's not going to make that big of a difference, right?
All right. So, what I think about it as well, I mean, I wholly agree with what Alistar's saying. I think that, like, for the longest time, I think I heard this in the Reddit thread too. Well, the times NA was actually competitive, like, we came up with stuff. We were doing that game against Samsung Blue, I think it was, or was it Samsung White? C9 versus SSB, where we're like backdoor and we're doing like weird things. We're trying to use the strategies, and the weeks that we came into patches just like by ourselves without as much of the other metas is when we look the most competitive. Now, whether or not we can keep that up, that's a whole different story. But I feel like blind copy pasting what Asia's doing is just not the strategy, and it hasn't been. But it's the easy way out, right? Because they're the ones who are winning. So coaches can lay the blame on someone else if they lose, right? Or they're like, oh, we followed the best strategy. It's just the players follow whatever. So I think this is not good for a coaching staff in the sense that they have to actually pull their weight, and you'll see who's the best coaches are. But I think it's really good for us. It will be way more exciting too, because you won't see NA play a worse version of a meta or a strat. You'll see NA come up with something and see, does the rest of the world follow, or do they come up with different things? And it's a back and forth.
Yeah, that's interesting to think about. Yeah. If we it's also kind of depressing too if we try to start a meta and then like Korea hits that patch like 2 months later and then or like a month later or 2 weeks later or something, and then they just like do something totally different that's way better. But then we're learning, we're figuring it out. Another thing I wanted to think about too is like sometimes when we think about like different strategies that Asian teams do, I feel like a lot of Asian strategies rely on leveraging like individual lane matchup leads, something that like NA players just can't really recreate. Like I watched this clip where Bwipo was talking about how um, he plays the Renekton versus Jace matchup, and in EU or NA, like 10 times out of 10, he can E onto a Jace and stun them. But then when he played against Zeus or other Asian players, right, the Jace would be able to get QW or Q auto E off before Bwipo on Renekton could just E forward and stun him. So it's like these kind of things I like, the more I watch people boot camp in Korea and stuff like that, like the more I realize like these are what the Asian teams are using as their strategy. If you can do this stuff, then like it changes the lane entirely and it changes the entire game, changes how your jungle pass, your support pass, and it's just GG, right? Like so we have to do in NA since it's so hard to get to that level of play on our ping. Like I think we just actually have to play like large type macro overall strategies of like a super scaler, right? Or like some super weird split push. So I totally agree on the new strategy thing. And it's just something that I've been thinking about since I saw that clip, and I didn't get a chance to talk about it when we were doing podcasts. So yeah, good luck to NA though. Last thing, gate times being shorter in between. That's fine. I guess there's not much to talk about. We're just all gonna agree that's awesome, right?
Yeah.
So for sure.
I think it's smart. I never heard anyone like we had this issue for a long time, right? Where
Yeah.
it's just so much time, and they were just telling us, "Oh, there's nothing we can do about it," and it just kind of felt dismissive. But this is actually a pretty good solution, right?
It's clever.
Keeps it
Yeah.
fresh.
Yeah.
For the viewers who don't know what's going on, I think Mitchell alluded to it. Essentially, what they're doing is they're going to record the champ select, and then as the players are doing their tech check and all the stuff they do in between games that has to take time if they want to do it properly, the casters will react to that recording for the first time because the casters have never seen the champ select. So it's the same feeling essentially, right?
Yeah.
It's just that they'll waste less time, and then they're going to put all the analyst sections, which we're always they always said where you have to do it because it's like normal sports. Now it's only going to be pre-show and post-show. Analysts will like push all of that there, and I think that's actually a bigger change because I think it's a really smart trick to do champ select recorded. But guys, the analyst desk has been forced on us for a long time, and I think it's gotten better the last year, but it's too long gone.
Yeah.
I think the reason why it was doomed to fail, even with the better structure and the better content, was like all the best talent has left or was pushed off. So like you got a better structure and you got rid of Dash. And no one's watching anymore, right? So it's not where all the eyeballs are. It's not where the attention is. So why would the best people, like, you don't see Captain Flowers joining the analyst desk, like not to analyze, but just to put hype on the desk. You almost never see him out there. Actually, he might never have done a session because
I'm sure he's shown up every now and then, but like probably not. Yeah. It's not a big thing. Yeah.
So I think like it was doomed to fail in that sense in between because it's fighting for the most premium time ever, right? It almost felt like an ad, and you don't want to fight with ad time. It's just the worst kind of time for a viewer. So I think this was really good. I'm glad they did it, and as we said, you had to burn everything down before they started rebuilding like this.
That's true. We talked about it like 2 years ago, starting kind of like at the end of 2022 a bit, so a year and a half. Yeah, we're burning it all down. Everything's changing drastically. Yeah, I mean, now we can talk about the teams, right? Like, just a reminder to everybody, we only have 8 teams, 2 teams like left, and one of them was not Immortals or Dignitas. So, the league is very different. We do have some interesting rosters. We do have, an interesting new. It's the same format, but it's like we're gonna have best of ones, double round robin, but there's a 2-week break in between each round robin. So that'll be interesting. More changes for the LCS viewership. But yeah, we're going to talk about some matchups that are happening this upcoming weekend. But otherwise, before that, is there anything you wanted to bring up about a specific team, right? If you want to talk about maybe Team Liquid, their roster, or their idea of what they're doing, or another team, and then we can talk about some matchups.
Have you guys done a power ranking?
I obviously want to talk. Wait, what were you saying?
Have you guys done like a power ranking of the teams yet?
I think we kind of did.
Very roughly. So we kind of rated who we thought were good, and we did roughly rate them, but it was based off the rumor rosters. So I think we can do it again. I did put Liquid as a fairly decent team because they're going all Korean part 2, but this time they choose all Koreans who can speak English. So they kind of cheated. All Korean with APA, right? So the good things about Liquid, and then I'll actually give my power rankings, is Liquid stuck with APA. And I think Liquid has shown a history of sticking with potentially promising or bad mid laners, right? We don't know what he's going to be yet because he's only had 3/4 of a split. But they did the same with Golden Glue. They did the same with Paul Belger was good. But they did the same with a lot of NA mids, right? So they've actually given chances to people. And this time, instead of getting rid of APA and keeping Summit, who was the, MVP of the regular season again or whatever, or not MVP, top lane All-Pro. They got rid of him, got Impact, who is obviously, in my mind, a good choice, even though he had a bad split. Umpty knows English. They brought him in, and they have Yan Core JJ. I think Core JJ is actually probably the scariest to have on the team in terms of just he has not shown consistency when the team needs him, right? On the all-Korean team, sure, the Korean team didn't function, but Core JJ on that team had no excuses, right? Jan speaks Korean. So all to say is I think Liquid is a very solid 4th or 3rd out of 8, which isn't great, but they have the right pieces. I think the obvious number 1 team, I'll go a little quicker now. I think the obvious number 1 team by far is Cloud9. Cloud9 kept their roster. They just replaced, as I thought, MNS is not in the roster anymore, guys. Not to hate too hard, but I just think he was always fake. And they put Jojo there. Will Jojo fit with Blabber? I have no idea. But Blabber has actually never had an NA mid laner, I think, as his main mid laner for a whole split. It's always been Jensen, right? It was Jensen and then
Maybe Golden
M&S.
Glue at a certain point, but
Oh
probably
yeah,
not.
a sub. He did have a sub.
Yeah.
You're right. Golden Glue was there
So
for a bit. Oh wait, but wasn't Golden Glue a Svenskeren? No, Golden Glue was a
they
Svenskeren
they
usually.
would.
Yeah, it's Golden
I'm
Glue,
sh-
Svenskeren, and
they
They
Jensen.
would they
yeah.
would
Labber.
they would do one swap sometimes, but almost like 70% of the time it was the Swole Bros. Either way, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They get a full split. He gets to train with another young hands, Zoomer. Although Blabber's, I guess, old enough now. He's not a Zoomer. So I think this is the number one team by far. And then everything from there, it's like, I think NRG deserves this talk because, NRG is the team that made quarters, guys. And they did keep most. They kept
That's the same
whole
roster.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Or no, they swapped
they
supports. They swapped supports from Ignar to Huhi.
Yeah.
Which again,
Which I think
Ignar
is an
worked on
upgrade.
that team.
I think it's probably an upgrade.
Yeah, but maybe we can come back to you and then just like go around a couple of let's talk about Team Liquid and Cloud9 for a bit and then we can talk about other
Yeah.
teams.
I like that. Sorry, it's the new year,
Yeah.
guys. We're just trying to get back into the swing of things.
No, it's cool. Yeah. Some fun podcasting. All right, yeah, Alistair, if you want to share your thoughts.
I think that's pretty much. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to add, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Team Liquid. They have Umti, right? That's their jungler.
Yep.
Impact is obviously, I think, a huge upgrade. There's nothing to, I just want to reemphasize the same point. But Umti, I don't know. We'll see if he does good. I'm sure, just as an average, he'll be a pretty decent jungler, just because of his career, and it'll be a much easier competition in A. But if he's gonna do anything special or different or unique, it's probably going to be at about the same of what Pioshik does. I don't expect too much from Umti to really raise his team above to that next level, which is interesting because Team Liquid has been trying to get Umti for a while, and I just have to wonder why. What's the reason? Why have they always been trying to get this guy? Umti is not that impressive in Korea, and he's a very tenured player. He's been playing a long time, so that's a weird one to me. Otherwise, Team Liquid, I think they'll still make Worlds, right? I think they'll still clutch it out barely. They'll look. I think I remember now. We did say this on the last podcast. If anything, if the only thing they improve on, even if they end up the exact same placing and whatever, is that they actually have a cohesive late game team, with team play, then I'll say they've improved, right? Because it was really frustrating watching them stomp the early games so hard and then not be able to close it out and totally fall apart, lose their monkey brains out in bad engages. So I hope for that for Team Liquid's future. And then Cloud9, I mean, they got Vulcan as well as the support, which is cool. It's a return. It was kind of that Vulcan versus Sven, Vulcan versus Sven. They didn't want to play with each other, I think, anymore. So they got rid of Sven and they took Vulcan, and I think it's gonna be good. I think both Impact and Vulcan had a really bad split last year on FlyQuest, but it is not going to happen again. I don't think. I think they're good players. So.
I didn't comment on Vulcan. You're absolutely right. I just forgot because I'm like, oh yeah, C9 Vulcan makes sense to me. And then I realized, Sven's gone and he's not starting for C9 anymore. He's gone off C9, sorry, is what I meant to say.
He's not starting on any team, right?
No, he's not.
Not that I know. There was rumors about it, but at the end of the day, he didn't get support or ADC. I assume he wanted ADC if he was going to join another team. So he's not on any NA team, at least.
That has to be contract price, right? Maybe, or just another team not wanting to take a risk because he's probably way better as an ADC than most of what we see on here. But you know what? To be honest, also giving some new ADCs a chance. Let's talk about energy. I'll just say that I'm excited and glad that this roster is sticking together, at least for the most part. Ignar went to an LEC team, whatever. But Huhi, I think will fit right in, and I'm just excited to have that one team that, we were talking earlier about teams that they don't cook enough, right? They don't come up with their own strategies. Energy is actually the recent exception where they do kind of come up with their own strategies. They made Senna TK happen in bot lane, which kind of changed a lot of the meta. They ran over G2 with it. So if we could do something else like that, another meta adaptation to be unique at MSI, I think Energy can make it to MSI for sure, the split. I think they can be up there. I would probably say they're 1 and 2 with Cloud9, unless maybe not during the regular season because they kind of into the regular season, but definitely come playoffs, right? Energy is going to be probably top 1, top 2. So hope they innovate. And then, talk about Energy, talk about any other teams. I'm not interested in too much in the other teams, so you guys can just go.
Yeah, I think it's tough to actually rate the teams after that. NRG, they kept the team together and upgraded their support. Right, Hui had a bad split, but obviously it's an upgrade over Ignar. Ignar was not rated high until that roster, and I think that was a flash in the pan. I don't necessarily think it was Ignar making it good, right? Liquid's either third or fourth, and it really depends on how hard you rate that Whipple-inspired Jensen roster.
Yeah.
So they have Busio still. Not
Yeah.
still, they have Busio, which means Busio's off 100 Thieves. I don't really know how good Busio is because that 100 Thieves roster was giga. It's just a dumpster fire, and the support will look bad, especially in a meta where you're sometimes picking engage. Right, you're just going to be one of the worst looking players, even if you're decent.
Yeah.
And then Masu is new. I believe he's a rookie. I've never seen him.
He's a rookie. He was on, I think, FlyQuest Academy, and then they were constantly like, I think, second place. So he was on one of the better Academy rosters.
Okay, so they actually upgraded their Academy support to 80K. That's actually really smart. I like that. I think the FlyQuest roster could be third over Liquid, just because I don't think Umpty has the firepower. I think you asked why did we hire Umpty? I think it's because they wanted a Korean who speaks good English, like better English than Core IMO. When I heard the interview, I was like, he's better than Core, at least accent wise. And that's why they wanted him, and that's why they picked Pioshik over him, even though Pioshik is even more of a wild card, right? Pioshik was a better player. That's why they took him and did the snubbed Umti of a split with Team Liquid.
Yeah,
I think on paper
they have to hope he gets better.
I think Whipple Inspire is like really good as a top side. I basically only think Peak Fudge Blabber is better, right? If they're actually playing well in domestic. In NA, there's no jungle top that's better than this. So Whipple Inspire is really good. And then they have the rookies in the bot lane, which could be a dumpster fire. Like, how is Busio supposed to lead the rookie AD carry? I have no idea. So, all to say, Jensen didn't have a great split. Busio didn't have a great split, but those names could easily be third IMO, and then Liquid should be third or fourth after them. Actually, now that I was really thinking about Liquid's probably got a better expected value just because they have more time as a roster and they went to Worlds together, while Dignitas, or not Dignitas, FlyQuest had one of the worst splits of any super team I've ever seen. They made Liquid look good with how bad their split was.
That's true. I mean, Team Liquid eventually turned around and made it to Worlds, right? It's better to turn around at the end than fall apart at the end, which is exactly what happened to FlyQuest. So, yeah, it was bad. Yeah. Any comments on FlyQuest or Energy, Alistair?
I think FlyQuest is likely to be the second best team.
Interesting. Okay.
Just because I think their top side is going to be really, I think it's going to be like better than a lot of teams, as Kevin was saying, and I think at least my read on the meta is dominating the way I think the meta is going to be. And to be fair, I'm saying this not having watched much LEC at all or other leagues, but I think bot lane, at least laning, doesn't matter as much. I mean, obviously, if you get slammed in lane, it's obviously that's going to matter. But I think it's going to be like a fairly safe, like on hit Ardent meta is kind of what I expect it to be. Unfortunately, so and with top lane being much more isolated on the map and not having as many gank options, I think just having a better top laner is more important than having a better AD carry, because I feel AD carry is a very, you can kind of just slot them into most teams and most of them will kind of just do the same. I mean, obviously there's exceptions where people who are like they'll go above and beyond, someone like a double lift or whatever.
Yeah.
So I feel like having a much better top side, especially mid jungle, is super important, because if you have a better mid jungle on blue side, enemy bot lane just doesn't ever get to play the game. So that's why I would lean towards FlyQuest in second, Energy third, Liquid fourth.
Okay.
Personally.
Now the memes again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Team Liquid fourth. Yeah. Yeah, for FlyQuest, I'm more tempered, and I'm talking more end of the split. Like we like to, who's gonna win the placings at the very end of the split. I personally think that FlyQuest is going to be insane in the regular season and fall apart when it comes to playoffs because of the rookie bot lane and because of the, I think, hot-headed natures of the European top side that FlyQuest has. They'll be brand new together, right? Playing against Energy and Cloud9, who have been together a lot. If FlyQuest gets it together, that's great. But FlyQuest as an org has been kind of shaky with me. They get a lot of great talent and a lot of great players, and they fumble the bag. And that doesn't mean to me that they got bad players. I think that means they have bad structure, bad management, bad coaching. So that's my points that I'm going to take away from FlyQuest. I've been trusting them a little bit, and I've been getting let down. So I haven't trusted them basically since like that 2020 roster with Santorin and Power of Evil and stuff. But
Solo.
Yep, Solo. I mean, Solo's gone now. So sad. So alone. This roster is hard for me to trust into. I think they're gonna fall apart in playoffs. So I do have faith in Energy that they're gonna be the opposite. They're gonna look kind of shaky, and then they will pick it up when it comes to the playoffs, and hopefully be number 1 and number 2, somewhere around there. I think that'd be hype. We got an Energy Cloud9 rivalry. Yeah, and then what's another roster we can talk about that's interesting? I mean, after that, it's
kind of a wash, right? This is
Yeah,
the interesting
Shopify.
discussion would be to rate these, because
let's do that really quick. Okay, so let's just rate the bottom 4. All right, we all agreed on what the top 4 kind of is. That's fine. But I'm just gonna do it super quickly, mostly because I'm not totally sure and I'm uninspired. I'm actually gonna go Shopify is 5th. Oh, I did think about this. Yeah, Shopify, 100 Thieves, and then Dignitas, and then Immortals. Yeah.
But really, put Dignitas and Immortal 7th and 8th. Never would have guessed that.
Yep. Yep.
what a controversial thing.
Yeah, that's a hot take, Mitchell. That's pretty hot take.
I went with the spicy one, so you guys can easily counter it. Make your own points to make me look like a fool.
So I actually, against my better judgment, have Dignitas 5th.
Really?
I think Rich was like fine, even though I had flamed him after he started falling off. I think it was like pretty good top laner as far as like if you look at the rest. Okay, Shopify, the 5th place team you put has Fake God in top lane.
That's true.
And I'd love to believe Fake God has a Dokla arc, but like I find it hard to believe. I didn't watch him in Academy, so if he surprises me, some people who watch Academy probably like told you so, Kevin. But there's no way I'm gonna believe in it until I see it, right? And then Sniper is a complete rookie. He was like that young prodigy, but like honestly, I don't know. You need support. Young prodigies keep failing. Kenby is out of the league now. Like there's so many of these like young prodigies that come in and they just did not get the right support or the right team building around them.
To be fair, Kenby was on 100 Thieves, so he was doomed to fail.
You mean Immortals?
Yeah, sorry, that's what. Yeah.
I was like, 100 Thieves is not doomed. but he wasn't on 100 Thieves.
It was on
well, I actually agree with that for both orgs. If you're a rookie starting on those teams, I don't think. I mean, 100 Thieves.
That's true. 100 Thieves has not raised 100 Thieves is the one who got Fake God to like have the worst season.
Yeah, so they were bad for a long ass time, and then they got rid of the Golden Guardians roster, and now they're just bad for. And I think they will be for
Castle,
a good amount of time.
The top laner for Immortals, he's a KT Challengers top laner, which is a good thing. KT has been good, and he was there for a long time, right, in Challengers, but he's got Armeo as his jungler, so like absolutely not. XU wasn't great, but he had only got one split to try out. So why I put Dignitas up there is I think Tomo is pretty good. I think, he can be good. I don't know much about Isles. Like when he did play is but Dove was actually the mid laner for a lot of good teams. He was a starting mid laner for Sandbox, into KT roster, into Sandbox, into Invictus, into Dignitas. He was actually a main roster mid laner. He was in KT in 2021. So like that was the COVID year, right? So it's a little hard to understand like how good were players back then. But you being the starting mid laner for KT is like actually a big deal.
That's true. No, I mean,
and IG, which is LPL, right? So as far as I'm concerned, I think that he deserves people don't know him because he's just always been like middle of the pack, but he's better than Quid, guys. He's definitely better than Quid. Don't know who Mask is, and he might be worse than Insanity. I think Insanity domestically has shown more, but that's it, right? What does Shopify Rebellion have besides Insanity Boogie? Who's boy?
They got Zazel.
I know they have Zazel, but that guy's been playing amateur for like 2 years now. He wasn't even playing academy for at least one of those years. So I'm really worried. I've watched Cabo play in LEC. That guy looks like he has not touched League of Legends in a while.
Fake God's gonna prove you wrong. You're immediately gonna eat your words. Fake God is gonna go crazy with it. I believe in it this time. I feel like it's not a meme. It's
this
definitely
time,
not.
okay.
I believe Shopify is gonna be. Also, I think it'd be cool if every new org that came in would like win. Like, what if Shopify just won their first split? That'd be cool.
With that roster, if they get top 2 with that roster, I will buy their merch. Like I will.
Oh hell yeah! Okay.
I'll wear it, and people are like, "Why are you wearing a Shopify shirt? Like, are you a dropshipper?" I'm like, no, esports, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
funny.
like voting for Dignitas, but Dignitas being 5th isn't something that is unheard of. Ending in the ending of the season, right?
Yep.
So that's that. Immortals, once again, they have Tactical Ole. I have no idea why they have that roster. Armeo, Tactical Ole are like 3 of the disappointing children of Team Liquid. So I cannot vote for that team. Like that team, Castle might be a KT Challenger top. Mass might be Korean. That sounds like a Korean username, but like I don't know who he is. This team is 8th for me. It's Immortals. I don't know how they're still in the league.
It's Armao, bro. I can't with him.
I can give you Shopify 6th, not 5th, and then 100 Thieves 7th, just because Quid was so bad. No. Quid was so bad on a roster that had closer, had double lift, and to me that's unacceptable for a Korean mid lane import slot. And Meech, I believe, was also in Challenger, and he was pretty decent. But
Meech was on DSG.
Yeah, Disguised
Tears. That's why I know
the name. He's very good. I honestly think that might be the second best bot lane in the league. If you want to be honest.
Yeah. So with that team, I'm willing to
regular season second best.
Yeah. No, I just mean their bot lane alone is like one of it's probably the second best bot lane in the league.
Yeah. I expect Ayla to go boom in playoffs. So for a while they'll probably be insane. But
yeah,
I don't
that
predict.
Team might be 6th then.
That's true.
Their
bot lane's going to be good during the regular season for sure. I just don't think it's going to show up really in playoffs that much.
They have a good bot lane, a nonsense mid laner. River was a beast for a lot of last year and the year before, to be honest. And
River's just
completely new.
I think River's just good, but he is going to have a hard time having a different mid laner. You know, Quid is very different from I forgot his name already. Who is Golden Guardians mid laner? Golden Guardians mid laner?
Oh, sorry, when he was on Golden Guardians.
Gory, there it is. Okay, yeah.
Gory was Gory. Gory was actually quite
it was a big difference
up until he blew up. You're right.
Yeah. So we'll see if River can still keep it together, because River and Gory were the duo. They were going crazy with it. And now he has Quid. So I hope River, he'll still be making plays, but it won't look as good just because of the mid lane
you've got
situation.
Sniper Quid right now, and like I want to be hyped about Sniper. I'm just so worried about him.
Riven's good. Riven's good right now.
I mean, personally, I'm with Kevin. I think Dignitas in 5th, then 100 Thieves in 6th.
Okay.
Shopify in 7th, and then Immortals. It's Immortals. The Immortals taking their rightful spot.
I think I figured out Immortals. Immortals is literally the insurance policy for LCS. They're like, we're here. They're Immortals progressive, and they're just like, yeah, we've got this whole team insured. When it blows up, we'll make a bunch of money. So they're just here. They're just sitting there getting ready to collect their insurance fraud.
Yeah, I think
we get 8th place. Oh my god.
Yeah, I think
we're gonna have an Immortals player on this podcast to interview someday, and I'm like, oh god, don't bring up this clip, please, dear God.
Yeah, I think my issue with Sniper is, or my worry about him is, he was like a sought after prospect for so long. Everyone knew him, and everyone's known him for like 5 or 6 years, but it took him this long to get to a team. That to me, I read that as he's either hard to work with, or he's not as good as everyone thinks he is.
No, he just became of age.
No, he just wasn't of age.
My bad.
He was 14 or 13 when he turned Challenger, and he was like, or 12 maybe, and he was super famous for that. But you have to be 18 or 17, I believe.
17. He just turned 17, yeah.
I thought he was much older than 17. I thought he was like my age, 2021.
He's the first young prodigy that we've been talking about for way too long, so we thought he was like of age.
Because he was Viper's younger brother.
I thought he was 14 for the last like 6 years, 7 years. I don't know.
Well, we'll see. If he goes 0-14, we can make that meme.
I don't know. I thought I'd heard about him for like 6 or 7 years. He's been 14 for 6 or 7 years. So that's
Let me
that's
check
my
out the
bad on
General
my
Sniper
part.
first hits challenger post. You guys keep talking. I want to see what year that was.
Yeah, he started. Well, I already had it out. I was
He
looking
hit
at it, but it's
challenger
okay.
when he was 12 in
Yeah.
2019, and then he hit rank 1 at 14. So that's what we heard. That was the post. Rank
Okay.
1 was
Yep.
at age 14.
And he's a Riven one trick, and he's pretty cracked at him.
And he's
Her.
the brother of the other Riven one trick. Wow.
And I think they have a third brother. They have a third brother who's younger than them. That's also insanely good at League. I'm not even joking. And his name is also something like weirdly similar. But
There's no way. What?
I'm pretty sure. I'm not even joking. They have a third brother. I don't remember how good at League he
Crimson
is, but
his
he
name,
does.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Oh,
His
okay,
name is
nice.
Crimson, and he's also Chally.
Aha! Yes, and he played on some NACL leagues.
They
or some
said, "Don't
Challenger
sign
League
the
teams.
kids, sign the parents." In the
Yeah.
thread.
That's funny. Yeah, so
That's funny.
Yeah, so my bad. I was completely wrong. I thought he
fine.
was I thought he was much older than that, and I thought he just couldn't get onto a team.
Yeah.
I thought he was just stuck in academy hell for a couple of years. So yeah, I'm still gonna go Thieves in 6th, and then Shopify because I don't know. Fake God Boogie Zazel does not sound like a winning roster to me. I'll be honest.
Ooh, it's gonna hurt when you guys are wrong later. You know, I don't know
think
Look,
why.
I would love for
decided to be a
Shopify.
fan,
I would
but-
love for Shopify to like do some damage, but it's a new org. They likely don't have the infrastructure, and they're. I mean, they have insanity.
Yeah, they have insanity.
That's kind of the best I can say.
And they have the winning strat. What did NRG do that was different when they came in? They hired like 12 coaches that were all
That's
former
true.
players, okay? And then you know what happened actually? They let go of most of them from between last year and this year. If you're Shopify, you just hire those same 12 people if you can. You hire a shit ton of coaches, and then maybe that makes a difference. I don't know. I'm just giving ideas to the Shopify
I'll give some
listeners out
context
there.
to Shopify because I work in e-commerce, so Shopify is like a big business there. The CEO of Shopify is a huge esports fan. They have a
There you
Halo
go.
team, they have a Dota team. Like they have been in esports for like a decent amount of time. They like ramped up during COVID. So Shopify has a Rocket League, Halo, StarCraft 2, Valorant, and Dota 2 team. How good they are kind of varies. Some of them are in tier 2, but like they're bought in. And the other thing to keep in mind is because TSM and Golden Guardians exited the league, there's just a lot, and everyone else is like downsizing. When a team with that much money backing it, and the CEO literally like loves esports, he grew up playing StarCraft, I think it was. They're going to be able to pick up talent very easily at like bottom dollar. So whether they can get a cohesive staff together, I don't know. But they actually know how to do esports elsewhere. This isn't their first gig. They just never got into league because it's super hard to get into league esports. There's only 8 slots now.
Yeah.
So I think they have a chance of surprising us, just like how 100 Thieves came and got second, their first split. Just a whole new org, right, in terms of league.
You mean when NRG won? Yeah, that too.
Well, NRG is not a new entity.
I mean,
they're in league before.
They're essentially new though. They were here for like what 1 year, like almost a decade ago, and then they came in.
That's true.
Basically new.
Oh my god, that's how long
people.
it was. Like 8 years ago. Yeah, holy crap. Okay,
Yeah.
you're right. That's fair. NRG
It's
was
pretty new.
essentially new, but they're a major esports org. That's the thing.
Yeah, I think also, you know, Shopify has Revin. I don't know.
Yep.
Revin,
the TSM
yeah.
guy.
He's also an old C9 coach. You know, I'm looking at his stuff, so that's cool. They have Korean coaches. That's all you need, really.
Are we hyping up Shopify to be the best team in the league? Is that what's going on?
That's where I'm eventually. Well, you know, you're kind of spoiling things. That's where eventually I was going to go.
It's Mitchell,
like,
Kevin. You should know he's doing this.
Yeah. As time went on, I was going to build up the Shopify hype, and then when they actually win, and then it would feel great.
Mitchell has a history of making really hot takes that everyone clowns on him for, and then just by some miracle, it ends up being right.
It's true. That's how you do it. That's the only way.
Mitchell just says whatever he feels like, and then somehow it just works.
Yeah, you know, well, it's not just whatever. Sometimes there are real reasons, right? I actually think Fake God got better, you know, and I actually think that, I mean, okay, that's I think as far as it goes, because I'm just kind of down for a new org to just win it, just because I think that's cool. So not a lot of analysis there for this one. Other takes have real stakes to them, real basis to them. Let's see. Anything else we want to talk about? We can just talk about some of the key matchups. All right, who's winning this weekend? We'll do Energy versus Cloud9. I mean, that's the main one I'm interested in.
Yeah, of course. I I think right into the gate, I agree with you. I think Energy will lose. I think Energy might even be the better team in playoffs by the end of the year, but C9 has that firepower and like that kind of firepower in the new patch. They're playing live patches, right? So
Yeah.
whenever things get hot fixed, if I don't know if it's 14.1b, it's not out on live yet, so it's probably not that. But whenever new patches come in and a shakeup come, I always go to like who has the most firepower. It's not based on the power of friendship and teamwork. It's like who has the most firepower. It's got to be C9. So I think C9 will win. One thing I will mention as we go into our 4 matches is now that there are less matches, there will probably be more focus. Like there's less bad quality, although the bottom 4 teams need to surprise us. But there will be more
we'll
like there will be less games, so it won't be as diluted in terms of viewer attention. It's like a silver lining.
It'll be less painful when there's a bad game. It'll just go by because we don't have to. It's like, oh, okay, it's fun. All right, yeah. Energy versus Cloud9, Alistair.
Energy versus Cloud9. I mean, I would definitely lean towards Cloud9, just because I think the org has better infrastructure overall, and I'm not always going to use this metric. There are more Cloud9 players playing Champs Queue.
No, I think that's fair. I'm down with that metric. I hope people play Champs Queue because it's kind of messed up that they don't. But hey, yeah, that's still here, and I do think that it's probably Cloud9 flavored, but I'm actually feeling Energy just going to try hard one game and then look like Doogie. I feel like that's an Energy thing to do. It's a bit. I wouldn't say it's something that like would have better betting odds to think like that, but Energy could come out of the gate hot with some really weird shit on day one that no one's really thought of, and then be really hyped and kind of just lose steam for a while and then come back later. I've seen teams do that before. They play one important match. Like I feel like Golden Guardians kind of does that sometimes, like when they were good last year, where they would play a really good game against a good team and then kind of look like garbage against like the middle tier teams and lose games they shouldn't. So I hope Energy brings it, and it's not just a Cloud9 stomp, but excited to see both rosters. Let's just talk about one more matchup. Kind of not too many interesting ones. So you guys think Dignitas is 5th place? Energy is maybe off to a slow start. What do you guys think about Energy versus Dignitas? That's like the closest matchup I could find elsewhere.
I think it's probably the closest matchup to having like a predictable upset.
Yeah.
If Dove is actually good, like
Yep.
better than Palafox, but Palafaker has been really good. But Dove can potentially do something. I think the X factor here, besides Dove, is the XU Rich. Like, are these real players or not? Like, was Rich just abusing NA's bad habits, right? Because he has been playing Asia for so long, or was he actually a good player with River? Right? I don't know. But XU did not get a fair shot. So if this guy's a real jungler and he has like a contract arc, they could do it. But this is like there aren't a lot of on paper. There's not a lot of room for upsets, and the NRG roster is the most cohesive roster in the league right now. Period, including C9.
Would be interesting if Energy were to go 0-2 in the first week. But yeah, your thoughts, Alistair?
don't will that into existence, Jesus.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna lean Energy. I mean, I think this definitely has potential for an upset. But for me, looking at, especially using what I was saying earlier, first of all, I don't see any of them at all, except for Isles playing Champs Queue, if I'm pretty sure. So I'm going to use that metric. I'm also going to use what I said earlier, where I think just having better mid 2v2 and better top 1v1 is going to be a really big deal in this season. At least that's my prediction. And I'm just going to take the mid jungle that played together for a year, made it to quarterfinals, won the last split, or won the most recent split of LCS, is probably going to do better than a lot of other mid jungles.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I think Dove and XU, right? They would have to really hit an unexpected level, but they do also, I think, at least Dove for sure plays against much harder competition regularly in his career. So we'll see what ends up actually favoring what ends up, because I also think we can talk about the items now and the map changes. Like, I think that this meta, it's like less about team play and more about good laning. Like you said, good 2v2s, right, and good 1v1s, but also like, once you get an item like Storm Surge in mid lane or some of the other crazy broken AP items, it doesn't matter what kind of team play you have. If you have really good hands and you can just combo somebody and blow them up, like, I could see plenty of teams just falling short to a Dignitas who just have a cracked out mid laner, right? At least for a while. And then I think, once the split goes on and the items get nerfed, right, it won't be like this crazy overbearing thing when, Dove or somebody gets a Storm Surge really early on a Kali or something ridiculous, or Galio, or, some other champion. So, yeah, I think it's going to be energy as well, but I feel like, Dignitas could be. You guys convinced me Dignitas can be interesting in split, so yeah.
They have all the right factors, but it could just be the classic Dignitas where they have everything correct, lots of good names, and then they just somehow magically go seventh. And then Immortals
Yeah.
like, not today.
Yeah, infrastructure, is pretty important to League of Legends, especially to, foreign speaking imports. But yeah, let's talk about just a little bit about what has been exciting and what has not been exciting to you about the new season, what you've played and stuff. So yeah, and then we'll probably round it out after that.
Mm, I think the most interesting thing to me is like I think we'll see the most flux in like what people agree upon is like the best builds in the season, all the way up until maybe halfway through. And then I think they'll just start. Most teams will just start being like, go crack into blah or what. I don't actually play AD carry that much, so whatever the order is, I think they'll start figuring it out. But the removal of mythics is just so interesting because there are now so many mindsets you can go. You can like combine Riftmaker with like Leandries, like things that like you would never ever be able to do, right? So I think that item optimization is a conversation worth having, even more so than it was before, where I thought pros were already doing dog builds where they were building collector like fourth item, and I'm like, what are you doing here? So I think we'll have a lot more room to talk about optimization, talk about different situations asking for different items. But my concern is that the items are really cool right now. Storms are just broken, stuff like that. But my concern is they'll dial back every item's damage by so much that like every item will start to blend together. Like this item kind of does a burst of damage. This kind of item kind of does DOT, but like they all do like a very similar damage at the end of the after everything's gets nerfed down to a reasonable level.
Yeah.
That's my take on it. I think
Yeah.
that's what they did with Mythics. They were super cool on launch, and then they got increasingly more lame until they did nothing, almost nothing.
Yeah.
I mean,
think maybe that's
unfortunately,
true.
I think that's kind of the way it has to go because the power creep this season is insane. I think this is
Yeah, that's true.
this is the largest jump in power creep we've had since the launch of season 7. In my opinion, and I think games are going to be very chaotic because I think we're going to see a lot of these. Like, I think we're going to see a lot of random ass supports that you're just going to play one shot. Like, oh, Zareth got a Storm Surge in his support item, and now he's doing half of your health while 2 levels down
Yeah.
on you. And
Yeah.
their support is just solo killing you with his ult from the other side of the map. Like, I think it's going to be. I'm not a fan of the new season, if you want me to be honest. I think the items are fun, but they're just not balanced. They're Earth items. That's what they are. Like they're Earth, they're Nexus Blitz items. Actual League of Legends, it's really unbalanceable and it's really difficult. There's too many items now, in my opinion. However, it'll be interesting to see what happens in pro play because, as Kevin was saying, there's a lot of different trains of thought you can go down.
Yep.
Personally, I think Stormrazor is a pretty fake item. In my opinion, I think Kraken's better.
I don't like that item either.
I think Kraken is just better in most games. And there's just so many different ways to build so many different champions that I am looking forward to it because even if I don't enjoy it, I still have to learn it and deal with it. I might
Yeah.
not like how the meta is, but doesn't mean I can't play. Doesn't mean I just don't play it.
Yeah. Also, learning the meta, whatever it is always interesting for a while, especially when they do make drastic changes for a while at the beginning. So, yeah, I mean, you guys are probably on the correct path. Like, there's a lot of really broken items, right? And it makes a lot of the other items that are still in the game like just depressingly bad. Like, they buffed the crap out of Stridebreaker, and I still think it's shit. Just
I
because
agree.
it has been nerfed because it went from a mythic to a regular item, and then all these other items came out that are way better. That's like you cannot fit in Shredbreaker. Same with like Trinity Force, right? Like it's not like Trinity Force is bad. If you're a Trinity Force character, you still go it, right? But it's just underwhelming compared to just some of the items that you can use and compare it to its mythic version. And I think that is the downside. When you turn an item from a mythic to a normal item, and it's not like this crazy, like interesting item that does a bunch of stuff, and you introduce all these new items that do a bunch of crazy interesting stuff, it makes it really underwhelming to build them. So, Hearthsteel and Jox Joe, I think they got away just because there aren't a lot of other interesting tank items besides maybe the new Sunfire item or the new like Magic Shield item.
What about
So
Unending
everybody's
Despair? I love that item. It's so
yeah,
funny.
that one's fun. That one's fun. But everybody still goes like if you're tank, Jock Show, and Hearthsteel
Mhm.
every game almost. And I do think that I don't know. It depends what kind of champions people are going to play. I've been seeing a lot of Varus, so maybe not too many tanks. But if Varus and other tank busters aren't around in the bot lane, then going a tank I think is pretty strong right now. I just don't know if teams are going to optimize like that and just build to go like early power spike and build damage. Because Bruisers, right? Sundered Sky is insane. The item is really good. Eclipse is really, really good. These items probably need to be nerfed. And then what else? I mean, Shojin's all right, right? I think Ravenous Hydra's just got like adjusted its animation time, so it's really, really good now. Titanic Hydra's insane. I think we've been seeing a lot of Xin Zhao with Titanic Hydra and Frozen Heart in the jungle for LEC. So a lot of weird stuff that I think will not stick around for a long time. And I do kind of feel like it's going to be this bursty stuff and then tanks again in the top lane. I think tanks are gonna be so strong and go under noticed.
Tanks are
Um,
definitely super strong, but at the same
yeah,
time, why play tank when play Aatrox?
yeah. I mean, that's true. But then they're gonna nerf Sundered Sky in like a patch or two, right? And then I think tanks are
I
gonna be
saw
what's
a
up.
post on Vandrill's channel. I don't know if you guys know who Vandrill is in the
Yeah,
podcast or in the comments, but Vandrill's like a guy who does a lot of
yeah.
like league lore and theory crap. He just knows a lot of random information about league. It's my impression of his channel. And someone posted on his channel and says apparently Thunder Sky is bugged and it does full crit damage and it also gets modified by IE for some reason
Huh. Really?
I'd
as a
Maybe that's
as
why
a
it feels so
I'd
broke.
believe
as
it.
a bug.
Yeah,
But
no,
like
Aatrox does some dirty things. Like the
right, because like you see Aatrox do his crit and you're like, wait, why?
Yeah,
Interesting.
because
Well,
he
if that's
gets
the
his passive
case,
auto plus Sundered Sky, and he actually just heals for 60%
yeah,
at
that's
level
crazy.
10.
So if that's
It's really
true,
stupid.
that item is busted. I mean, obviously was busted for anyone with eyes, but
We'll see.
I'll
Yeah, if that's the case, then no tanks probably for at least for the first weekend
Yeah,
until
no,
some
there
changes.
are some items where I think even through nerfs, they're still going to be insanely broken just with how strong they are right now. Is my
mm,
impression. I think Storm Surge is that way. I think Sundered Sky
I
that
think
way is that way. I think Shojin is that way as well.
yeah. I
mm.
you could be right. I I don't think Sundered Sky is will survive the nerfs because I think if you nerf it a little bit, I feel like a lot of the trade patterns don't. It really depends on what champion you're playing to and what your matchup is, obviously, right? But it takes up a weird spot, kind of. I think in some builds for bruisers, like you want to, like almost all bruisers still need to get Ma and Death Dance or Sterix, and then they still need to get like Black Cleaver. So Sunder Sky, where does it fit there? Does it replace your Mythic, or are you a champion that likes Eclipse or Shojin? And then that's where you don't build Sundered Sky. So we'll see how it breaks down. I think Sundered Sky is just the option because it's so strong, but I think it will if you don't nerf like Eclipse or Shojin or even Ravenous or Titanic, whatever your champion uses, then Sundered Sky will disappear. That's just my opinion. Yeah, okay, those are the items. What do you guys think about Void Grubs now that we've actually gotten to play with them? I actually think they're pretty underwhelming for a while until like you're hitting tier 2 turrets and you're actually taking them faster because of it. Then it feels pretty good, but I still prefer dragons. But what are you guys' thoughts on Void Grubs?
I think the eternal issue with Herald was like it was like a simple math question, right? Like there wasn't a lot to modify with it. You either is the turret worth the gold or is the dragon worth it, right? And dragon generally I felt like won out. First Herald was kind of valuable for the plates, but second Herald was like a meme. So I think Riot didn't have a lot of chances to modify stats. I think White Grubs in the current state, from what you can see in Pro at least, like it's okay. It's like somewhat fine, but I think they have more room to experiment with them. So I don't think this will be their final state. I also
Hmm.
don't fully understand what the goal of them is yet. I don't know if Riot does either, but it's a little bit more interesting. I also the battle sled thingy with the herald. I
Oh,
don't
Rift
get it.
Herald?
How does it work? You just summon the herald and you can either ride it into a turret or you ride it into people.
You
Yeah,
can
you just
just
right
you
click
can just
into it.
control it.
Yeah, you
Okay.
control
I
it.
haven't played enough Rift. I've just been watching. I'm like, what the hell am I watching?
Yeah, you just jump in, you can control it, you can run around. If you run into people, they get knocked up briefly and take a little bit of damage, but you have to run into a wall or a turret to stop. And then you just keep
You
going.
can't
It's like
eject
Sign ulti.
otherwise.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like sign ulti. Okay.
like Sign ulti, except you
What do you
don't
guys think
hit
about the
humans.
map changes? Besides, like obviously with that, but I don't play Rift a lot, so to me, I'm like cool. But I think you guys actually have more reps in there.
Yeah, so I think personally, I think red side sucks for early game, but I actually kind of think red side it might be better for mid late game, to be honest, because it's so much harder.
Interesting.
It's so much easier to control the blue side of the map than it is to control the red side of the map with how many, especially around the dragon pit on the the bottom side of the red team. It's
Yeah.
so much harder to control that because there's so many more openings and so many ways to get around vision that I think it might be easier to play that side of the map when you're later on in the game looking for fights, looking for engages. The issue is going to be not falling super far behind at that point as a red side. I also do want to go back to the grubs real quick. Um, I think they're at like a good level of strength right now. I think it's pretty. I think they should, but in my opinion, they should take out the spawning, like making everyone Belveth part, and just add a bit more damage to the dot instead. Because making everyone Belveth is just not fun for anyone, in my
I
opinion.
love Belveth.
It's just
Do
it isn't
you
fun.
like the little minions?
Yeah,
No.
that's just not. No one likes that.
They're pretty stupid. I'm not gonna lie.
So just give more damage
Yeah.
to the dot, and I also like it because Herald. You can't just like take Herald and then run it down the lane and you just auto win that lane now. Uh,
Yeah, I definitely think for early game heralds, that's super nice that you can't take it with plates up. Like that's
exactly. Yeah.
huge. Yeah, I kind of like the little minions. Maybe it's just because it's new and novel, like the little void grub minion that comes attacks a turret with you. They are pretty useless, and they actually usually hurt more than help if you're playing against Yasuo. I mean Aurelia too, if you ever see one, but mostly Yasuo. So the little void grub thingies usually hurt you. um, but it's still fun. We'll see how my opinion changes over time about that. Void grubs, I think it's honestly not something you rotate for like Rift Herald, right? I don't think teams have been doing it that much, only a little bit. But like, if you're gonna take Void Grubs and you have to bring your bot lane, I think you're doing something wrong.
Half of my solo queue games supports are roaming up for it in solo queue, and that's saying something. I don't know.
Interesting. Maybe
Really?
it is that good then.
Or maybe it's because it's novel. They're like, look.
I mean,
Yeah,
maybe, but like in solo queue, supports are roaming up. Junglers are calling for people to roam up, like very frequently, which is not something like people didn't call for people to rotate for Rift Herald in solo queue before. It could potentially be just because it's new and haha, look at the grubs. But
I think it's overrated. But yeah,
obviously,
maybe.
it's a solo queue thing. It's not a competitive thing. People playing solo queue often tend to just do things.
I guess
Begging,
to be
yeah, jungle's really weak and
yeah.
needs leash guys for sure.
To be fair
But
though, I do think that the fact that it's like if you get your support and prio,
that's my
it's
opinion.
way faster to take. So maybe your support really doesn't lose much because like certain champs and comps, like if you have a certain jungler and then uh okay what was I saying? Sorry, I got distracted.
Certain
Oh, if you have a
champs and
certain
comps.
jungler
Yep.
and your support comes up and helps you and just gets you prio on it, I think it's pretty easy to take. So maybe that's why it's worth it, just because
Yeah,
it's how
that would
easy it
make
is to take.
sense. It's just like
Yeah.
such a good net gain for the team, right?
It's just so quick and easy for some champions and some combos to take Void Grub. So I could definitely see maybe why. It's not like Rift Herald, right? Rift Herald actually takes time, right? You'll lose waves. Like your AD carry can get zoned bot lane if your support roams. But Void Grubs, maybe you could just do it in one wave rotation, right? One little thing. So yeah, that's cool. I also kind of agree that I mean, I don't know. I don't have a strong opinion about red side, blue side, except that I think laning phase seems easier to gank bot lane through the red side tri bush, like just like we were talking about. But also, like after that though, it doesn't seem to favor each side. It just favors whoever controls it. So theoretically, red side would be able to control their red, their blue side jungle on the red side. It would be easier for them to control because it's closer to them. But like, it just seems like whoever has control of that area, it's really hard to lose it. Like, especially if you have things that can go over walls, you can engage over a wall or poke over a wall. Um, controlling that red blue side is just insane. It's really annoying. It's like impossible to take dragons if you don't have control of that area.
Yeah, I mean, what I expect is like on blue side, you're gonna see a lot of like Kate Lux, Lucian, Nami, like super aggressive bot side picks, and then once like you don't know pain until you experience getting pushed under your tower as bot side or bot lane on red side, and then you just can't ever do anything because what happens is you step up and you first of all you can get harassed so much more under tower that you can't on blue side just because of the way the wall got pushed back and they have two ways to run
And you can
out.
go into a bush. You can go into a bush to drop aggro. It's like so crazy.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
insane.
it's really annoying.
Playing from behind on red side is like fate worse than death. It's terrible. I
don't like where
and then
they put that bush in that little corner. It's just too close to the turret. I think they need to move it out. It's
I'm kind of
really
scared to queue up now.
Yeah.
no, it's my first game. I got red side, and then I just got permanently four-manned. Like I could never push up. I could never farm under my own tower, even 2v2 from full HP without just getting dove, getting roamed on. Like it was unplayable. It's so much harder to play from red side than it is to play from blue side.
Yeah. I also think for top lane too, like playing red side top lane, which I have been doing, it's really awkward. Like it's so hard to jump in. Like I feel like void grubs are almost always a blue side jungle take. Like it is really hard to get involved as a top laner on red side to the void grubs into Rift Herald and stuff. That's something I noticed too. So the changes are weird. The map changes are definitely weird. Maybe they'll adjust them. I don't know. I hope they do in the future. Um, but yeah, I mean, we've been going on for a while. This is a good solid podcast. Anything else we want to talk about? New season, LCS. I mean, it's just good to have it back. You know, I think once we actually watch some episode or some games, you know, the next episode we'll have a lot more specifics to talk about too about the teams because we're pretty vague about the teams honestly. So, any last things you guys want to talk about?
This will be the first season that we don't have a giant preseason to test everything. So I imagine there will be more flux, and it shouldn't be as established of what is good, especially with all the changes. Next week, I think the B patch will go live. Or is it next week or soon? The B patch will go live.
I
As well,
think
so.
I think it should be 2 days from now.
Okay, yeah, so very soon. And I think that will make a huge difference too, because geez, some of these items are doing like 600 damage AOE Storm Surge.
Yep.
Oh
Pretty
my
fun.
God.
Lots of Galio one shots. That's what I've been doing. Anything else, Alistair? Okay, that's cool. Well, we're back. LCS is back. 2024 is back. League of Legends. That was a cool cinematic, but I'm not gonna talk about it. We'll talk about it next time. Trying to be too toxic. I know it's tough because you're getting one shot, but it'll get nerfed, so it's fine. We'll see you on the next episode of the All In Podcast, and that's it for us. Peace.